In terms of the overall impact on the organization, I would say the public looks to a city for a lot of guidance. We do work closely with public health, and we're always trying to do what's best to keep our staff as well as the public safe. But we're also doing it all on what's readily available in terms of information. So we're getting updates from the province, and a lot of us are left kind of scratching our heads um, before a lot of these changes are supposed to be occurring, which makes it kind of tricky when we're trying to update our COVID safety plan, provide information to the public, as well as make sure that we're doing what's right. We've had a lot of impacts too. So in terms of sites running, a lot of our sites were closed. So our art center, museum, and skating arenas were all closed, but we also had to shut a lot of our offices down to the public, which normally we were open to. There's also been a lot of impacts to our community. Um, so a lot of small businesses we've seen closed, unfortunately. I think a lot of customers have stopped shopping, I guess, at the smaller mom and pops, and especially restaurants as well. In terms of mental health, drug and alcohol usage, this has been a huge issue in a lot of communities, which is very unfortunate. Our opioid usage in 2020 alone has increased by 75%. So I've been working on providing a lot of training for staff for if they find someone that's unfortunately homeless and potentially overdosing. So that includes naloxone training and working with public health, but also SHARPS, which for anyone that might not know, SHARPS is basically a used syringe, needle, or object that could potentially harm a worker or a person. So I've been doing a lot of education here as well, which isn't directly from COVID, but is kind of associated in the sense that a lot of this drug usage and unfortunately homelessness is a result of COVID and wiping away um, people's ability to work. So the last thing I want to talk to you about is starting your career in health and safety. I think a big thing is we all should be realistic. Um, I know when I graduated, I thought I was going to get some big paying job and it was going to be great. And I was comparing myself to others and seeing what they were getting. And um, I wasn't being realistic. And I went back to school even a couple more times because I thought that would help. And the reality is we all got to start from the bottom. We have to um, get some work experience because the reality is a lot of organizations they don't want to train you from scratch. They're looking for experience. And you are going to learn, or you have learned a lot at Seneca, a lot of great skills, a lot of great critical thinking, the ability to do reports, the ability to work with others. But there's just so much information that a lot of it you have to learn on the job. And that's where this experience comes in. So a big part of this too is your attitude and how you treat others. Um, People don't forget how you treat others, as well as your work attitude, willingness to do work. This all comes together. Um, I think another big thing that people often overlook is to be kind to yourself. I think many of us set really high expectations, which is great in terms of creating goals and working towards them. But with that said, when you set unrealistic or unobtainable goals, you're setting yourself up for failure. And you're setting yourself up to feel like a failure or like you're not good enough or like you don't have anything to offer. And that's not true. You have a lot to offer. It's just we're starting off your career fresh and um, you got to start from somewhere. So to make sure that you don't kind of be too hard on yourself, I really recommend starting to, if you don't already do it, engage in healthy habits such as regular exercise, whether that's walking, frequently eating healthy, thinking better. So positive thought is a really big thing. Just be kind to yourself. Another thing I talk about, I say don't stop learning. And what I mean by that is it's important to continue to professionally develop as well as follow updates in employment legislation, know what's going on, learn about unions. Maybe there's new, when it comes to health and safety, there's always a trend, whether it's ergonomics, right now it's these health and safety or COVID-19 safety plans and making sure they're ready and that you're following those safe work practices, that staff are screening, that people are washing their hands, that there's barriers present, and that people know what they're supposed to do if they have a symptom or a client has a symptom. That's the big thing now. So just stay up to date. What I recommend is on LinkedIn, I follow some really cool resources. I also take a part on a lot of webinars, whether that's through a health and safety organization such as PSHA or the HRPA. Just any event, just keep on following them. As an HRPMer, there are a lot of free events you can take online. There is a lot of free webinars from a lot of safety organizations. And a lot of this shows when you go to interview because you can articulate what's going on. And a lot of the times, too, is questions will be related to something that's new in the field. For instance, when PTSD was starting to get added to WSIB as a claim, especially for like police officers and firefighters and healthcare workers, like it really threw people off. What was the thresholds and understanding how you would accommodate or what would accommodation look like. So you got to stay up to date. Networking, I can't stress this enough. So right now you're building networks with your fellow other students. So I can tell you right now, a lot of you aren't going to forget how well or not well others worked, their attitudes. But also just staying in contact with each other. I am still friends with the 4 group members that I had at Seneca back in 2014, and we're always catching up and talking, and some of us have even helped each other network for jobs. So networking works, and it starts at Seneca. So remember that. A big thing too, I put market scan it, and what I mean by that is look at your dream job and try and find a few job descriptions of like, and I'm talking recent postings, and looking at the qualifications and what they're looking for, and that might help you build a kind of like a personal development plan of where you need to go. So look at the job descriptions, look at some of the training, certification. Sometimes it's even just content. They're looking for like, do you have the knowledge on a certain type of thing? So maybe they're looking for someone that can audit. Maybe they're looking for someone that's really good at reporting. Whatever that skill set is, look at it. I've taken some cool courses, and a lot of them were the result of looking at job postings. So one of them was mental health first aid. I have first aid. I have joined health and safety committee training. I've taken mask fit training so I can fit staff for N95 masks. And a lot of this was because I looked to see what was important, and a lot of it has come back and have been very helpful for me. Another thing is don't only tailor your cover letter, but also tailor your resume. You have to figure out who that hiring manager is. It takes about 2 minutes to search the company, Google the company, the specific person who this job's reporting for, and putting that name in there, the cover letter resume, because it does show. I know a lot of managers who, if you put to whom it concerns, might scrap that resume right away. So don't put all that work into crafting your resume and cover letter and not noting the appropriate manager or hiring manager. And it also is good practice too. So I save the job description, cover letter, and resume for everything I apply to. And periodically you can see the growth in your resume and cover letter. I also recommend too, following a job interview, when you're getting them, is writing down those interview questions, because a lot of them get used again and again and again for the same job. But you can also, by looking at job descriptions, sometimes figure out what they're going to ask you. So if you can do that, try and look for common questions and compare it to job descriptions, because you can pre-formulate what you want to say in advance. And the last thing is, don't be scared about trying something a little bit different. For me, that was trying a contract. I'm someone that I always look for stable employment, but getting that initial contract for me in health and safety really got my career going, and it provided me the opportunity to get into a niche field. I got some really good references from managers and directors at the hospital, and I was able to build a name for myself, not only at the hospital, but for the current organization I work for. And people know people. So, yes, I work for the city now, but a lot of the people I work with knew people at the hospital. So, when you build your name, it's important to carry yourself with character. With that said, I hope this conversation or presentation was maybe a little bit insightful. If you can take even one thing from it, I hope it was worth your time. For me, health and safety has been really great. I found it really rewarding. I love that every single day is a little bit different. It keeps me on my toes. There's days where I'm providing education to staff, I'm working on training, I'm researching best practice, writing policy, working on procedures, and I love that it's like I'm still in school, and it doesn't get boring. So if you're wondering why you should go into health and safety, if it's something you haven't already thought about, or if it is something you're going into, I think it's a great career, and you are welcome to reach out to me on LinkedIn if you like. If you have any more questions, I'm here to help. And I wish you all the best.